On the track, the women's Olympic development 4x200 meter relay. And the record, East Germans in 1980. And the American record and meet record, Nike International last year, 130.20. And the team to pay very close attention to once again, Nike International, running in the gold and black in lane 6. Marion Jones is the anchor. Now earlier in the 4x100 meter relay, Passion Richardson trying to hand off to Marion Jones. They were out of the zone and eventually disqualified from the race as the Adidas team went on to win it.
Well, of course, Marion Jones will be running the anchor leg in this 4x200 meter relay, and that's one position she knows very well. Also, earlier I mentioned that she has already run under 22 seconds, well before any other athlete even imagined that they could. She's run 21:98 down in Australia during our winter season.
And the lineup for the Nike team: Tameka Roberts, Inger Miller, who also was in the 4x100, Nicole Green, and Marion Jones.
And Nicole Green and Inger Miller returned from that American record-setting 4x200 meter relay last year. Marion Jones now said after the loss in the 4x1, she has something to be motivated about in this 4x200, and she gets the opportunity to anchor this team. Remember, this is 2 laps of the track, and all the athletes stay in their lanes for the entire distance, so there'll be no jostling around and people cutting in on each other. Everyone will stay in lanes, and they have a very good Adidas team that they have to run against. Has a lot of the same people that they ran against in the 4x100.
Speaking of, for Adidas, McDonald, Gaines, Fynes, and Stroman. A reminder about Penn Relays: the inside 4 lanes are part of a short 400-yard track, while the outside 5 lanes are part of the traditional 400-meter configuration. Expansion to a full 8 or 9 lane 400-meter setup would mean knocking down the brick walls that surround the track, something they're not prepared to do here at Penn.
I think that Ben Franklin might turn in his grave if they knock down those walls.
Yeah, I think if you get over 100 years, you just leave the building alone.
And the entire field, lane number 5 is open. Nike International looking for revenge against Adidas. They're in lanes 6 and 7.
Now, don't be surprised if the Adidas team is ahead after 3 legs, and that will actually make it a little bit more exciting for everybody watching here, because Marion Jones does have the opportunity to run from behind, and you know, you have to admit, when someone's walking someone else down, it just looks so good. Well,
the assembled 50,000, I know, love that kind of stuff. It's what they come to Penn Relays on Saturday afternoon for. And let me also remind you that unlike the 4x100 meter relay, the baton passes and exchanges are, of course, very important, but they aren't nearly as critical as the speed factor is not there that is in the 4x100. The zone is the same basic distance. However, they don't have to be as precise, and there doesn't have to be as much practice go into these baton passes. That will actually favor the Nike team, because that's something where the Adidas team, who we saw a moment ago, did very, very well in the 4x100. Their relay passes were excellent.
DC Capital just added to lane 5, the 4x200 meter relay. And they're away. Twice around the track, staying in lanes. Each runner runs 200 meters.
It's also very difficult here because they have these long staggers. But right now, Beverly McDonald's of Adidas is moving very well out of lane 7.
That would not be something that'd be unusual. Tameka Roberts not nearly as experienced as a number of these other athletes on the Adidas team. But as you said, Carol, we'll be seeing most of the running taking place in the 2nd lap.
McDonald hands off to Chryste Gaines for the Adidas team,
who is an Olympian and also a very, very outstanding athlete, running an excellent leg out of lane 7. That is Adidas on the right side of your screen. That is Inger Miller trying to make up some ground.
Here's Sevatheda Fynes, who ran the anchor leg in the 4x100 meter relay. Adidas just blowing the door open so far. Fynes approaching the back stretch.
What needs to happen now is Nicole Green needs to settle down and realize that she's behind, and she needs to make sure she does not tighten up. If she can get the baton to Marion Jones with some type of chance, hopefully, here we go.
Pass. Here we go.
Pass.
So Jones with an opportunity as she trails Stroman, and Jones is eating her up around the final turn. That's why she's the #1 runner in the country, the queen of speed, Marion Jones. Down the home stretch, she makes it up for Nike International.
What we talked about on the passing there, again, what happens is another team is in front of you and you do not feel like that they should be behind. Let's check out the time here. 1:29.65 unofficially would be a new American record. Imagine that, an American record with that horrible pass.
And I think Marion Jones probably did everything she could to keep that pass from going out of the exchange zone. She saw what happened in the 4x100. Let's watch it. She has to slow down and look back. Both passes have basically been mile relay passes. She came to almost a dead stop. She received the baton well in the zone, though. And running against LaTarsha Stroman, although an NCAA indoor and outdoor champion at LSU, she's simply no match for world champion Marion Jones.
Well, Marion is on the inside of LaTarsha Stroman, and she knew that she had the talent and the power. Look at the concentration on her face right there. She knew that all she had to do is get into her running speed, and she was going to pass LaTarsha Stroman and go towards a new American record.
So Marion Jones took the baton trailing by at least 4 meters, and around the final turn, she kicked it into high gear and stormed the victory.
No problem for that.
Yeah.
We'll check it, right?
The final results of the Women's Olympic Development 4x200 meter relay, anchored by Marion Jones, Nike International, an American record 1:29.65, as they get revenge on Adidas ASICS Track Club number 3. And coming up, we'll hear from Marion Jones right after this. Marion Jones, the anchor leg of the 4x200 meter relay, and watch her run.
Right here, Marion knows, just give me the baton and I'll do the job. Just give it to me.
And she does. Look how she just ate up LaTarsha Stroman around the back turn, then takes a look at her and flies down the home stretch.
Well, Marion Jones has already run under 22 seconds for the Open 200 in February down in Australia, so she's in phenomenal shape. She's also a world champion at 100 meters, and on the 4x100 relay, she was just superb in that relay.
And the Nike International team standing by with Michelle Tafoya.
All right, well, this team set the American record last year at the Penn Relays. They've broken it this year. Inger Miller was part of that team last year. Here again, what went well for you guys to surpass last year's time?
I think we had really good handoffs and some really strong legs this year also.
And speaking of those handoffs, they went better than they did for you, Marion, in the 4x1, and running that anchor leg was tremendous. But how concerned were you about getting your hand on that baton?
You know, I was definitely concerned. I have a tendency to take off a little bit faster than I should, and I did that again. But, you know, I was lucky enough to be with 3 other young ladies who are ready to roll today, so that made my job a little easier.
Congratulations to all of you.
Yeah, thank you.
So the Nike team, led by Marion Jones, going on to set an American record in the Women's Olympic Development 4x200 meter relay. Coming up, Michael Johnson here at Penn.